All right, everybody. Hope you've had a good start to your week. A few things to cover today. Just wanted to look at the Neil Custis story. Quick overview of that. Some theories out there that the 9 Foundation have already acquired United. A little bit of a revisit of my stance on the whole thing. I'm going to very quickly mention Mason Greenwood, and then we're going to end with the one and only Roy Keane. The first thing I ever think about when I hear the name Neil Custis is Louis Van Gaal referring to him as the fat man in a press conference, which just made me laugh at how inappropriate it was, but just the way he said it, it was really funny at the time. And I know that him and Ferguson had some pretty well-known rows, and one of them came to light on Twitter recently. Actually, there was an audio recording of him and Fergie going at it, and to be fair, he stood his ground. I know he covers United, and I won't go into the story because I'm sure you've read it. Essentially, saying that the 9 Foundation have moved ahead in the race to buy United, and that it will be done or could be done by November. And first of all, sports journalists, I don't think have any clue in terms of what's going on. They're briefed by the Glazers, by Rain Group, by United PR, whatever. And they have to go with that story. It's no surprise to me that there's a lot of stories about protests, and all of a sudden there's something that comes out from the Sun that indicates United are in the process of being sold to the 9 Foundation. Even for people from the finance world have been wide of the mark with their predictions in terms of the timing of announcements and I guess what's going on in general. But the fact it's the Sun and the fact it's Neil Custis makes me take it with caution. I have to start thinking more pragmatically about these things, I think, because if I think to myself, okay, so if this story said that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was taking United on, was the favourite, and he was going to own the club by a certain time, knowing that it's Neil Custis and knowing that it's the Sun, would I panic about that? Would I think, oh no, Neil Custis is going to, it'd be even worse if Neil Custis owned the club, wouldn't it? Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to own the club. No, I wouldn't, because my reasoning would say it's Neil Custis, it's the Sun. It's one person saying it. It wouldn't panic me at all. I have to apply the same logic when the story is what I want to hear and what I want to happen. Unfortunately, there's holes in the story left, right, and centre as well. To be honest, if you look at it, so unfortunately, I would look at that with caution. Moving on to a theory that the 9 Foundation already own the club, and it's just a case of the timing of the announcement. Mick Ruby, who is he runs MUFC Realist TV, has said for many months, probably since April, that the deal is done and that it is dotting of the I's, crossing the T's. The 9 Foundation will, without any doubt, own Man United, and already do, essentially. The longer time goes on without any announcement, the more it looks like he hasn't been right with his assertion, especially not from April. He also has hypothesized that the 9 Foundation is done, but it's not being announced, because if they announce it whilst we're still doing transfers and buying players, the money that it's going to cost United to buy players is going to go up, because selling clubs are going to think, well, they've been bought by the 9 Foundation, they can afford X, Y, Z, and it's going to put the price up even more. I think if we were talking about a club that was run by people who cared about it, yeah, I can see why they do that, because I think the current owners and the incoming owners would be in cahoots with each other, and they'd try and help each other out as much as they possibly could. The Glazers don't care. They are not bothered one bit about whether this is going to cost the club more money, especially when it's Sheikh Jassim coming out of Sheikh Jassim's pocket. So I think the theory is that this is being funded by the 9 Foundation already, and it's just not being announced, and that the takeover is done, essentially. I doubt that very much. I think that if I can see why Sheikh Jassim would want to wait until the transfer window is closed before he's announced, because he's not going to get ripped off. But the Glazers don't care, and if they get their money, if they get their tipping point, then they'll just want to go. They'll be thinking, why are we taking bullets and getting loads of stick from people for causing this delay when it's not us, it's them, and we're trying to do you a favour to save you some money? I don't think so. We'll just take the money now, cheers, and we're off. The other side of it is, look at who we've bought. Is this a mega summer? Is this like a summer of mega deals? It's not, is it? And come on, Mason Mount. I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm not sure that's a Qatari wet dream, Mason Mount. I think if the 9-2 Foundation were calling the shots here, it would look very different to how it's looked. What we've got now is a supremely gifted coach who's not only a supremely gifted coach, but he knows football, and he can work within a limited market and within a limited transfer budget because he knows the European football scene inside out, and he knows players, and he knows how to improve players. So he can look at an extremely limited set of players and say, right, he'll be all right because I've worked with him before. He'll be all right because I can fit him into the team and I'll reinvent him. He'll be all right because he's young and I can get the best out of him. He will be able to do that because he's a brilliant manager, and he's got a lot of confidence in him, in knowing the scene that he's a part of. So that's why I think it's looked half decent, because he can make a lot of things look half decent. If we had Ole Solskjaer in charge and he'd made the same signings this summer as Erik ten Hag, I think we'd be questioning it, to be honest with you. My stance has never wavered in that there's 6 Glazer siblings, there's 2 of them want to stay. They can want to stay all they want. They ain't got any money. They owe a lot of money. The club needs £2 to £3 billion spending on it before it can even start to build itself up to be what it needs to be. The talk of them being able to cash in even more in the next few years because of things like being able to negotiate your own TV rights and the Champions League changing and the World Club Cup and all that kind of stuff. That is all in the distance to some degree. Certainly the TV rights is in the distance. And actually, United are a club that needs to speculate to accumulate. We have to spend money to be able to then start becoming a proper football club again. And they've not done that. They've got no history of doing that, and they're not going to do it now. So they can want to stay all they want. They haven't got the wherewithal to do it. No minority investor with any business sense is going to give the Glazers or lend the Glazers money. Because as soon as you look under the hood of the car, you see the mess that they've created. And if you're an investor, you don't get a say in what happens. You just invest the money, and the Glazers are going to go and do what they've always done, which is just neglect the club, take dividends, and do the bare minimum that's required, and cut corners so that they think that then they can take more money out of the club again. And if an investor, just like as a fan, if you don't know that by now, then you've been living in cloud cuckoo land for the last however long. No serious investor is going to do that. So I'm not sure why there's a delay, but I still don't think they can stay. This channel is all about the takeover, and I've always said that really we can talk about other stuff, but nothing else is more important than that. Every now and again there's something that is very important that's not to do with the takeover, and for me the Mason Greenwood situation is very, very important, not just in its isolation, but actually in terms of what it symbolises moving forward, from what it means to us as a club in terms of the decision we make with him. When they make a decision on Mason Greenwood, I will do a video on it. So if people were wondering, that will happen. I won't shirk that, and I will talk about that. And I have some very strong, not strong, I've got views that I believe in very strongly about that. Let's end on the one and only Roy Keane. So this morning, there was something on Twitter that United put out, and it said, we've waited this long, and I could see even before Keane's face was revealed, I could see by his silhouette that it's Roy Keane. He's so distinguishable. He's my favourite ever Manchester United player. I love the man. I went to an audience with Roy Keane 4 years ago. I asked him a question about United, and he gave a long, winding answer. I've got it videoed somewhere. There's a picture of me and him. Pride of place on my desk. Me and Roy. people say don't meet your heroes. I'm so glad I met him. And my first thought was, what is Roy Keane doing on that video? He is not a commercial person. He's never been sponsored by Adidas as far as I'm aware. He was high tech when he played. I'm not sure, as a retired footballer and pundit, you have sportswear endorsements. I'm pretty sure you don't. He never played in an Adidas kit for United, so there's nothing that can be done in terms of retro. And is he really the type of person that will do a video on the release of a third kit for Man United? It just doesn't add up. I must admit, there is a bit of me which got a bit, not giddy, but just sort of daydreamed about, can you imagine if he announces the 92 Foundation for me? That's my dream scenario. So it's not been revealed why he's doing what he's involved in. Is the 8th tomorrow, yeah, isn't it? So we'll find out tomorrow, I guess. But I can't see it being something to do with the third kit. That's just not Roy, is it? A bit disappointed with him if it is. But anyway. So just to summarise, the Custis story, take with a pinch of salt. The theories about the Glazers not announcing the sale, even though it's already done, so that we can save some money on signings again. I wouldn't be too optimistic about that. We will do a video on Mason Greenwood at some point when it's applicable. And who knew that Roy Keane was a big old dick tease? Not me. Up the Reds, Glazers out.